Hey everyone, this is Daniel. And in today's video, we're going to talk about the 5 hidden gems in Microsoft Forms. Now, some of them you might have seen in passing, but the others truly are hidden. So stick around, these are important. But first, here's my intro video. So let's get started. Now, one of the things we want to talk about is the main page of Microsoft Forms and how it has changed a little bit. But before we get there, I always go to office.com because that helps me. First of all, I don't have to bookmark things. I already know it's office.com. And once I go to office.com, click on this app launcher on the top left, also called as the waffle icon. And over there, you will see all your apps. That way, you don't have to keep adding bookmarks for each and every one of the things. All you need to do is just go to office.com. And as you can see, right over here is Microsoft Forms. So when I click on Microsoft Forms, it takes me to this main page of Microsoft Forms. Now, we've always seen that when you come over here, the first thing that you see is the Forms functionality. That's why you see it's plus new forms. However, if you want to click on the quiz option, then you got to click on the drop down. It's a new quiz, all right? The next thing I've noticed is that you actually have to scroll all the way to the bottom, or at least halfway, and this is where you can come and click on all my forms. So that's kind of important because when you're creating a new forms, this is honestly where you want to go and get started first. So when I click on the all my forms, now when it comes to this one section, there you are able to see these two buttons over there. This was actually the new piece that is done, because before everything could be done from that main section, but you had to make sure that you click on the drop down to click the news, the quiz, otherwise you would forget that. But if you come to your all my forms, this is where you can go ahead and actually click on, see the forms and the quiz side by side. The reason I like to come over here is because now I can also go and check on my new collections. Do you have any collections? How are the collections located? And by the way, if this collection is all new to you, I've put a video down in the link. I actually deep dive into what these collections are and how it is working. I also said don't confuse this with the Power Apps collections because those are also different. This is Forms collections. So anyway, this was the first piece, is that how the main page of Microsoft Forms has changed. So the next thing I want to talk about is the navigation tab. Now, Daniel, what do you mean by navigation tab? Let's actually go to a fairly good sized form to look at that. So my videos before, I've actually done a video on the whole general medical history form and how to go and transition that into Power Apps. I've put that link down below as well. You can go take a look at it. But this is actually a great example because you've noticed that this is a pretty versatile form. I've got sections and everything in it. But what you've noticed is that now when you start hovering over this, you see how this double horizontal hamburger menu or something called ellipsis, it's a double ellipsis, and also it is, in the horizontal format. That wasn't there before. And I've also started noticing that it's not very prominent. It's a little subtle. So if you start hovering your mouse over it, unless and until you actually stop and see it, there you'll actually notice it. But one thing which is really wow about this one is that right now you see the form, there's really a lot going on over here because there's sections and I have to keep scrolling and scrolling. However, if I went to this section or any one of these questions, and if I clicked on it, watch what happens, all right? If I click on it, see, it immediately went ahead and at least reduced them all to this one section. And then after that, and I've actually still got my mouse clicked, my thumb is, my index finger is down. And now that I have it, I can actually move it down or up so much more easier. Because we know that the way we always done it is I'm going to the actual question itself, and then you would use this up and down arrow. And it's pretty smart too, because this is the first question. So it's great off the option for me to move the question up for obvious reasons. There's nothing up. This is the first question, but the option to go ahead and move it down is there. However, this option over here, the double ellipsis, is so much more easier because guess what? Now I don't have to click, click, click to move it down one by one. I just hold my mouse, I click on it, basically go and click on those dots, and as I'm holding it, I can go ahead and move them down so much faster. Now, other things you may have noticed this is that if you have these type of options over here for multiple choices or drop downs, these have always had this as well, the option to go and move that. And if I go and click on it, I can go and move those up and down as well. So this option to go ahead and drag and drop all these questions or each of these options are available for both those scenarios. All right, let's switch over to the number 3 one, which is the option to switch over from a choice of a radio button to drop. And this is a great scenario right here. See, in this section for marital status, I've got single, married, divorced, widowed, and other. This is actually a radio button. What a radio button basically means is that it allows you to only select once. However, if I wanted to go ahead and change this to a drop down, well, then I can go ahead and select the option on the right. I can go ahead and say I want to do this as drop down, and immediately it goes ahead and turns into a drop down. Now, the only catch in doing this is, let's go back to the original one, which was the take off. It was the radio option, but it doesn't give me the option to select radio options. What you have to do is uncheck the drop down. So I'm going to uncheck that. Now this is, I'm showing that as radio buttons. However, if it was a multiple answers, like a multiple select one, then it immediately becomes a checkbox because I want to go ahead and select multiple one of them. Well, if you now went ahead and tried to change it to drop down, that option is not over there for obvious reasons, right? Because in your drop down, you're only allowed to select once. So in order to get into a drop down thing, first of all, you got to go ahead and toggle off from a checkbox to a radio button. And then now when you go and click on these ellipses, that's where you'll get this drop down option. So that is the third option that I wanted to talk about. All right, so next thing I want to talk about is the option to go and add your hex color. Well, how is that helpful to you? Well, many of the companies actually have their own custom branding, and branding is very important for them. And you may not have all the color options available in the color palette for that. So hence you need a way to actually go and put in the hex code that 100% matches the theme of your color, the company color. Now for that, we would always come to the theme, and in theme, you would see all of these options. But to go ahead and have the functionality to add the hex code, you got to come to the bottom right and you got to click on the customize theme. And on the customize theme, this is where you're allowed to go and put your own hex code. Now, many other people already may have that option available. You may already know what your hex code is. But if you don't, one of the places that I always go to is the W3 schools. And this section over there is really handy because I can go and click on them, and right off the bat, it gives me the hex code. But then I can also go ahead and put the hex code. I can go ahead and manipulate it. This actually is my favorite piece because when I select over here, I know I'm pretty close to the color I want, but here is when I can actually get the exact same shade effect that I want. So I'll say this is the perfect one. I'll go ahead and now just copy that entire section over here, do a Control C, come back to my Microsoft form. I'll just paste it over here. And you see, I got that full effect over there. So that hex section over there, the hex code, and to get that color theming, that truly was hidden over here. And this is how you use it. All right. And last, but definitely not the least, is how do I only go and share a link where people can just see the summary of the forms? I don't want to go in and send them the entire form and all the, like even the responses over here. I don't want them to just see that. I wish I can go ahead and actually give them a full summary of that. Well, in order to do that, you can come first to your Microsoft form. You click on the responses, then you come over here to the ellipsis. This ellipsis, which is right next to the open in Excel, that's the one that you do. And then now you just click on share a summary link. When you click on the share a summary link, you go ahead and copy it. If I open another tab, this is what it shows, the summary link. And I like this summary link because it goes and gives you really good information. Things such as total number of responses that were put in. These are all the names of the people. And it tells you all the addresses. Basically, these are all the fields that you put in on the Microsoft Forms. And you see right on the top, it even tells you that, hey, so far you've got 4 responses. The total average time that was taken to complete that. And by the way, the form is still active. So this is pretty neat. And what you can do is you can always come and keep refreshing it. So you constantly get the most updated data over there. And you can keep scrolling down. And as you come over here, you can see that you also get the graph. And these graphs are dynamic, which means that they're not a static, like almost a copy and paste type of effect. No, this is actual dynamic data because first of all, you're getting up to date. When more responses are filled, you're getting that. And as you hover your mouse over it, the graph will actually take effect over there. That chart is actually updating. So I really like this section over here for the summary link because it is hidden. But again, for the whole concept of if you want to just share the responses and get an overview, but not share the entire form, then this link is very helpful for that. So in closing, of all the 5 that I showed you, the 2 ones truly that were hidden is the hex code and then the sharing of the summary link. Those 2 are very helpful both from a branding perspective and sharing just the overall responses. So hopefully this video was helpful to you. And as always, keep using Microsoft Forms. Hey everyone, hopefully you found this video useful. And if you did, can you help me help you? Can you subscribe to this YouTube channel? Because remember, I provide fresh content on a weekly basis and it's 100% free. So if you have subscribed, thank you so much and pass the word. But if you haven't, subscribe, click on the bell notification and let the learning begin.